Hello and welcome everyone to this presentation by Systra. It is on the subject of digitalization and hypervision solutions supporting mobility. And today we're going to be moderated by Johan Amsterdammer, who's the Digital Mobility Director at Systra. So the floor is yours, Johan, to start the discussion.
Yes, thank you. I'm Johan Amsterdammer. I'm very happy to facilitate this panel today with the great team we have around the screen here. Just to say a few words about Systra, we are glad to host this panel. We are one of the world's leading engineering and consulting group. We're specialized in public transport and mobility solutions. And we provide our customers our expertise in transportation infrastructures and systems during the entire life cycle of their project. Within Systra, I'm the Digital Mobility Director in charge of developing new business in the system business unit. And today we are going to talk about digitalization and hypervision solutions to support mobility. We're going to share each of our company's experience and knowledge on about how to improve the resilience of transport system and the passenger experience. So to say a few words about the context, over the last 5 or 10 years, there has been a rapid evolution of urban mobility. We've seen coming e-mobility, private mobility service providers, etc. And the COVID crisis has had its own impact of all this, as everyone knows, and it's challenging cities and operators in the way they organize and manage their mobility and transportation networks. And indeed, at the same time, they have to deal with several challenges we are going to talk today. First one, for example, is to adapt quickly to new ways of traveling and new mobility expectations. They have to provide a seamless customer experience, provide a coherent global service in order to integrate car sharing services, scooter ones, mass transit services. It's a new way of defining multimodality. And they have, in the meantime, they have to enhance passenger information in real time. Just to take an example, we've all heard about the traffic resuming in 1 hour. I think this is not the question asked from the travelers. They want to have the answer to how long their journey is going to last from the point they are to their destination. So to tell us that from a real-time perspective, we have to use data, and we'll take some more examples later. And these challenges have to be tackled within a very constrained and tense financial equation. And that's why we're going to talk about data and the lever they can bring in the overall challenges. We have to be realistic. The race to continually increase transportation capacities, building new lines with higher frequencies, etc., is no longer the only solution. And this race is facing a scarcity of public funds, I've already said it, and a limit of space and an environmental policy evolution. So this is a context we have to take into account. And about considering the passenger expectations and mobility demand, it's evolving at very much finer space and time scale. We have PTOs around the table. I'm sure every morning they ask themselves about how many travelers they're gonna have today, on this morning, and tomorrow when the rules change and everything. So that is why all levels has to be activated to answer these challenges, and data is one of them. And we are going to try to share with you how it can optimize the performance of existing capacities, improve the resilience of transport system, and how we can find the closest match between mobility supply and demand. And keeping in mind that we have to put the passenger and the traveler at the heart of the transport system. Upstream work is needed to identify and mature all these use cases. We have to think about new data and systems engineering, new roles and responsibilities, governance, and so on. So we are fortunate to have experienced people and companies around the table. And I'm sure they're going to share their practical experience of this upstream work and about their operational projects about hypervision solutions. So if I may begin with Søren, who is coming from Copenhagen. Could you please tell us more about the need of data-driven mobility organization and answer the traveler needs you have in the greater Copenhagen?
Yeah, thank you, Johan. Yes, my name is Søren Bom. I'm a policymaker and a project developer in the capital region of Denmark that is placed in Copenhagen. And we are public authorities squeezed in between the municipalities and the state level. And we are responsible for the net of regional buses and local trains. And soon we will also be running a light rail together with municipalities on that track. So we are not a road authority, and that also makes things a little bit different when we are trying to introduce innovative new ideas. So we are really keen on working together with our operator, the PTA called Movia here in our region. But we are doing also analyzing, looking into the future, and one of the things that we need is a stronger focus on how we can optimize the transport system and capacity of the whole net, and how we can have better conditions especially in the suburban areas where you can see that the car ownership is 2 or 3 cars. So a better options for the residents living in the more rural areas and combining the daily travel with public transport is also something that we are facing more needs for. And an idea is also here to how can we nudge them to drive outside the peaking hours. So yeah, and I still believe that I think we'll not be facing the 9-to-5 jobs so much longer. So I really think that we can not the need of building wider roads and more bus lines and train lines is not that important. I really think that data now should be on the top of what we're doing. So because the commuters, they want to have access to flexible, reliable, and comfortable fast services, and not only for the weekdays, but also in the leisure times and during the whole week. So yeah, and the situation here in Copenhagen is that we are very much digitalized. The public is very digitalized. We have a lot of confidence in using apps and electronic payments. But we don't face the congestions that we see in other metropolitan regions that we usually are comparing ourselves with. But we can see that will change within the next 10 years, and we'll be totally stuck in traffic like we see in major cities. So what I want to bring to the panel is that we need to find better frames for innovate with the public transport agency and how we can make the combinations better, because we need that for now and not waiting.
Thank you, Søren. What about you, Tebow, within Vianova? Could you share about your experience of enhancing data for PTA and PTOs in their steering and decision making?
Sure, thank you, Johan. So yeah, my name is Tebow. I'm the co-founder of Vianova. So we're a Paris-based startup, and we are basically providing a third-party mobility data platform to support cities and operators in data sharing, as well as providing data insights for mobility management. So today we aggregate data from 50 operators, from shared mobility to delivery services. And the platform is used by 20 municipalities, mainly actually for data-driven management and regulation of new services such as e-scooters. And so, as you mentioned, mobility has changed at a very rapid pace. COVID crisis has only strengthened that trend, with more e-commerce deliveries and the growing presence of micro-mobility in cities, as well as ride-hailing. And cities are looking to better manage the share of public space, as well as steer a sustainable transport system. So the greatest opportunity for cities that we see is to leverage mobility data from connected vehicles. This is to achieve basically the goals that I mentioned earlier. And this is where basically as a company, we support them in providing the data platform, but also the hypervision layer, which is basically management and regulation and analytics tool. So transport authorities need data for planning and orchestration, but also for enforcement and control. A few of the use cases that we worked on that I could share now. So Brussels actually used shared micromobility road usage from vehicles telemetry to plan and prioritize the new Corona lanes that they set up last year, post first lockdown, COVID lockdown. Milan uses today GPS data to control shared mobility operators' compliance to the city regulation, specifically on no parking and vehicle caps. Zurich is creating and communicating their geofence policies using standardized API provided by a service. And Paris has just started a project to use data from last mile delivery services to understand the impact of e-commerce on street usage. So we see that these use cases are very wide, and we actually as a company worked with city authorities to develop these use cases. These use cases, my advice would be that should be the first focus on for any PTAs, PTO, and local authorities to make sure that they can really define well these use cases and prioritize them as a key success for any data project.
Great, thank you, Tebow. What about mass transit, Gayan? Could you share about the use cases you've identified and how it can be transferred from what Tebow has just said to that world?
Yes, thank you, Johan. So I am Gayan Vicente. I am working for Thales Ground Transportation in the business line, which aims at providing operation control centers and integrated communications. So our objective is to improve passenger experience. We are mainly providing solutions for mass transit market, as Johan said, mainline, metro, tramways. So how can the soft modes, individual modes can be transferred to mass transit? There are a set of solutions based on different sensors and data, which enable to predict the flow of passengers and density on board and on the platform. So therefore, in real time, we are able, to adjust the frequency of the trains, of course, when it's possible, because when you are at peak hours, you can't do more. To better inform the passengers so that they can have a smoother journey, avoid the crowd, and find also a seat in the train. To do that, the data collected are from several sources, and we can correlate the data. They can come from a video from different cameras to able to assess the density of passengers based, for example, on skeleton detection. Also, we can have the data coming from counting sensors. We can have the data coming from check-in, check-out data when available for checkout, for example, because it's not always the case. And we can also have the mobile coverage. So these are the examples of data that we can correlate. For me, the power of data is not to be able only to collect it, but also to be able to analyze it. Because the purpose at the end is to provide added value with the analysis. So it is the role of the new supervision centers, the data-driven operation centers, which are less and less in silos. Previously, we had one operation center only for one line, and they didn't talk to each other with only single sources of data. Now it's not anymore the case, and we have more and more also integration both between the data and also between the lines and the modes of transport. So we have correlation between sources of data, as I said, and also between the lines. And we can also have a real-time information to be able to optimize the transport offer depending on the demand, which is really the expectation presented by Soren at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you, Gayan. It's very interesting to see the issue from an operator perspective and to imagine how we can provide them the correct tools and deal with this multimodal regulation control centers. And for this topic, I would like to hand the floor to Yannick from Lausanne. Could you share about your projects and needs you have there?
Sure. So hi, I'm Yannick Lang. I'm working in Lausanne Operation Company in Switzerland. So here we are operating a wide variety of different transport modes like metro, tramway, bus, electric bus, trolleybus. And so the question was how to improve our clients' comfort when traveling from point A to point B and directly from point A to point B and using all the different infrastructure we have here. So we basically quickly switched to the mass needs, like any client could request anything from now to any coming years to go from one point A to one point B. So the point is we have different modes, we have different operating and different system for all of this mode, how to compute this data on our own and how to use it when the need comes from our clients to I don't know, when you have a description in the traffic, okay, you would directly switch to one on-demand transportation routes, alternative routes directly on your cell phone. So we have thought about it, and we have launched a program to allow us to have this thinking, this simple to know how implement it with our data, with our own data. So we have worked from two approach. One is, okay, what is the work from operation company, what operators do on day by day, but also from the other side, what are the clients' needs by directly use cases, okay? When you have a disruption on the highway, how people go to the center, what is the impact on traffic, and how the users of public transportation can switch to that. One other use cases which has been really topical those days is COVID. What if we add in the beginning of this crisis different information about every client, if he has or not the illness, if we know if this if metro cars are full or are not full, we could directly implement some applicative solutions based on our data and have some control command directly with our system. That would have been a very good tool. So our project aims at identifying those use cases. And now we are really interested in providers that could help us to implement the use cases with the improvement of our system during the next coming 10 years.
Great, thank you. It's very interesting. Gayan, could you share? Do you have any similar experience or any similar projects to present somewhere around the world?
Yes. So as I said, the more we have data and capacity to analyze, the more we will be in position to adapt the offer depending on the demand and in real time, and also be able to communicate to passenger accordingly. I can give you the example of Singapore, where we have deployed passenger guidance on platform based on a real-time evaluation of passenger density on board. So the solution makes video analysis from existing CCTV cameras. So we haven't deployed new cameras for that. and we are able to provide real-time crowding data. So it means that we are able to inform the passenger in which car the upcoming train is busy or not. So for each place on the platform, we know if it is crowded as green, so not really crowded, amber, middle, or red, really crowded, so it's not the place where you need to stay on the platform. And then it guides the passenger to the best place to wait on the platform. Another example that I can give, which is a little bit more multimodal oriented, is the management of the Dubai city in case of a special event. And the special event they have is a New Year fireworks. It used to be, because in 2021 it was not the case. The multimodal operation center in that case is able to predict the flow and also the traffic on the road, to adapt the frequency of the train and manage also the police operation, because there is also a link with the police in case of incident. And it also, takes into account the road traffic and adapts the demand in terms of taxis, for example. So in summary, collecting data is key, but the most important is really to better serve the mobility of passengers. And the major benefit of the data-driven OCC is really to have a enhanced situational awareness, so that the operators can anticipate, can also react faster, and the functions are more automated and not in silos. So in that case, it makes it much easier to deal with unexpected events and crises, because we have kind of anticipated those events. Tomorrow, multimodal OCC will manage many different modes of transport, but we are not yet really there. And operators will be able to adapt their transport offer in real time at the level of the entire city or region. It is a dream. And it enables to provide the best real-time information to the passengers and inform he or her before the journey starts, and it guarantees the best door-to-door trip, because the objective is really to have for each passenger the best door-to-door trip.
Yeah, thank you again. Yeah, we see we have the mass transit issue or problematic, and the overall city hypervision, and with the connected cars and the car sharing, the road traffic. Tebow, you've shared some things about this earlier. You want to react on what have been said?
Yes, briefly. So Gayan talk about event management. What we see is that the role of transport authorities is gradually basically moving as mobility orchestrator. And for mobility orchestration, which is basically, I think, the last sort of step of maturity as a transport authority, is kind of like orchestrating mobility in real time, which basically needs to have first a great collaboration with mobility operators, but also like to have like really good, powerful data to basically have these mobility orchestrations. And what I see is that, again, basically like using real-time data, historical data for anticipating demands and pushing certain modes, certain mobility solutions on specific city events. But also like we talk about public transport has interruption, public transport has issues sometimes. And a good way basically to rebalance the load would be to then use like these new innovative solutions, such as like shared micromobility or microtransit, ride hailing, to basically then, transfer the loads and have a full real-time orchestration.
Yeah, thank you. If we go back to public transport and the floor to Juan, could you tell us more about your project and what you have succeeded in integrated systems and deployment of data-driven solutions, please?
Yeah, sure. Nice to be with you. Hi to everyone from this sunny Madrid these days. We are the public transport operator in Madrid, the largest surface operator in Spain. We run the public bus service. We have more than 10,000 parking lots here in Madrid, some hundreds of electro chargers for electromobility, and we operate the bike sharing scheme, the largest bike sharing scheme in Madrid, which is Bicimat, and we have a less popular services, which is the toll truck, which people really don't like that much, but it's important for the city. What we have done for related to data, in last December, we launched our mobility as a service proposal for the city, which is called Madrid Mobility 360, where we integrated all the information for all the public transport operators, the metro, ourselves, and other buses and trains, with bike sharing, motor sharing, e-scooters, and car sharing services. So that is almost every single mode you can have that. And it was really challenging to get all the data properly together, which was, and I agree with Tebow in related to the authority. We done that because of our authority was working on gathering and qualifying that data, because sometimes when you start scrapping down the data, you find that the data quality is not that good. You only know how good is your data when you start using that. And there's some stones we have stepped onto these 6 or 5 months since we launched, is the data quality is also a big issue. And you don't know until you really go into it. You think that it is okay, but that's important. And you have to go for layers of quality of data from data which is static based on planning to real-time and event-driven data. And what we have learned so far also is we launched this application and we launched at the same time all the crowdness level measurements we have on board of our buses. We have installed in all of our fleet, more than 2,000 buses, crowdness level measures. So we know how many people we have on board, and we expose that information in that application. So and we have built some models, short-term and long-term models. So you know what are the occupancy level of the bus it is incoming to the bus stop, and the next one, so you can see, okay, I will take this one or another one. And we went one step forward, which is we included that in the multimodal planner. In that application, we built a multimodal planner, and in case we find a leg in our buses which is crowded, very busy, 50, 60%, 70% of the crowdness level, we propose alternative to the users. One is at the same hour taking an alternative route, which is usually takes longer, and given a later time where you have the same route with low occupancy. We think that kind of on the mixing the offer and the demand is crucial in that orchestration. I agree also with Tebow that is crucial in the years to come. And that will be 2 spots on what we are on now.
Yeah, thank you. That's correct. We have all shared about how we can gather data and building high-value use cases on top. But we all know that all systems have not been designed with anticipation of these needs and use cases. And Juan, you've talked about the quality of data, and you have to. That's why I think the key challenge for these systems is to design and develop data-ready systems, and how we can handle the old ones, the old system migration to be able to communicate with the new ones and be used to build these new use cases. So we see the path to operational hypervision is a long way, and I would like to hear from Yannick from Lausanne about how you're you're dealing with this complex journey. Where are you from, and where are you going to in the journey?
Sure. This is a very topical subject here, because the network is quickly increasing with many more. Like we have a new driverless line. We have new kind of buses, like very long buses, electric buses. We have a new tram line. So the multimodality has appeared in the recent years, and we have managed to deal with the multimodality from an empirical method. We have set all the PCCs of different modes together, and then we have let them work together. So so now, after a few years, we have seen that we cannot infinitely work like that, because when you have new modes, you have new system, you have new needs. New needs brings new system. New systems need new training. New system needs new obsolescence issues. So we found out that we need to have a line for that, and we need to anticipate a little bit a situation that will not be acceptable in the near future. So we have taken everything from scratch, and have an aspect when we think about, okay, we have 10 years. During those 10 years, we have new modes, we have new system. We'll rebuild our multimodal PCC. What do we need to compute with this PCC, and what do we need to provide to our customers? So we need data. Data is not all. We need data to compute services, and those services need to be based on the data. So we have taken a white paper and say, okay, how do we deal with that? How we manage this? And quickly, after a lot of studies during 4 years, we have basically quickly converged to this hypervision. Like you have silos, supervision for every functionality or every mode, but you need an hypervision to make some control commands between modes and between systems and between functionality of a traditional PCC. And the very one important issue we have found recently is what is really new in our approach is that we don't focus on security. We really focus on how we can improve customers' experience with the public transportation. We don't only focus on security or safety. It's really, okay, what would the customer, a citizen, require from his public transport operator?
Yeah, thank you, Yannick. And I assume to do all this journey, we need to have people to invest and to decide and to drive those projects. So maybe Soren, how do you see the decision taking from the public authorities and this path to hypervision?
Yeah, I think also Juan, he mentioned it, but I really think if it should be successfully, you really have to show the vision for the politicians, because they are not really, they don't have an awful lot of resources, both in funding and also to understanding what we can do here. And I think that on the public hands, we really need to understand the value of the data and building up these data warehouses where there's good supervision of the data and also publishing the data. And I think now we see that our own public owned buses, they are handing in very good viable data, like you can see that they're doing in Madrid. They're a little bit ahead, I understand. But I think also we might need to collect and make a good ecosystem for the private partners in the shared mobility, and I think we somehow should figure out how it could be value for everybody. But I think on public hands, I think they really should see this. If you're using the national data access point for data mobility data, that could be a place. But I really think that it should be on public hands to make sure that there are these data warehouses and really see it as a part of the infrastructure, like you're laying out roads or tracks for trains. And I think that is what I'm trying to do in the capital region, is to understand, yes, you need to invest in this. It's not a lot, but it really needs to be there. But I think they are concerned about what are the value, what will we get out of it. So that's something that needs to still to be discussed.
Yeah, maybe I saw Juan having a lot of reactions when Soren was speaking. So maybe you want to react to this and or say a bit.
Yeah, yes, indeed. We faced those challenges, and we found probably you found also there in Lausanne or in Denmark related to some deadlocks we find on the way. The lack of trust is a big issue. It's a really big issue. Building our mobility as a service, being an operator, we face the two sides of the coin, because sometimes you are a platform provider and you see, I need data, I need access to ticketing, give me it all, give me now, high quality, I will make an outstanding customer experience and get out of the way. And we as operator, we see, oh, they are stealing our customers. So we found some kind of mistrust in this scenario. What we have learned in that is that being public was a great asset in order to build trust among players. We have built some principles, sustainable principles for MaaS. We have signed with all the operators and platform. We are integrating our services, and in the platform level, and also as operator, our buses, for example, are integrated in two platforms, so you can buy our tickets through other third-party platforms. And we built those principles, sharing, for example, data on purpose, finding what for we need to share data in a proper and plain way. And we are sharing users also, which is sometimes the key part of the scheme. So we are sharing users and sharing data. And the second thing we have learned is, okay, that's fine that we have the legacy system. And I agree with Tebow that we need, and with Yannick, that we need to orchestrate the future, but you need to have the plug ready. If the new system are not built to be governed, you will not be able to do that. So that's what we are building, that new concept we call governance by design, which is inspiring this privacy by design we learned so far in the IT. Putting a layer of privacy on top of a system which was not thought for that is very, very hard, because you have a lot of holes and problems and bugs. So we have to build all the mobility information system and mobility as a services and ticketing system with that plug ready for governance. That's what we call governance by design.
Yeah, thank you. If you can use the couple of minutes we have left to take one question from the audience. We have one about operational staff and how you deal with the journey they have to go through with this whole technology thing we have been talking about. So I think it's a question for our PTOs there. Don't know if Juan wants to react or Yannick. Yannick, no? Juan?
Yannick?
Just quickly, it depends on which level we are talking. From the operator point of view, it's not that much a change. We have, from hypervision point of view, you just have a unified interface, you have unified control commands. So there is, as I see, not much of a change from the day-to-day real-time operators. The real change, I think, is in the maintenance of those kind of systems, because it's more and more IT-based solutions. And so what we need to ensure is that the IT, the maintenance from let's say sometimes traditional electromechanical solutions to IT solutions, this is a real switch. So from the beginning, the IT department is really involved in that, because they will be in charge of maintaining this, and this will involve some more training about how to maintain those solutions.
Well, on our case, two things. New ticketing system usually requires new hardware and new training. For example, for QR code to be implemented in our buses, we have to put some QR scanners or QR screens, and you have to train your drivers to acknowledge that, and that's something we found easily. And the largest challenge we found in the operational level is when we made a pilot last year, which was a smart bus, a bus on demand in the southern region of Madrid, in order to help COVID to bring people back and forth to the hospital. And that was huge change, because what really changed was that our drivers on a daily basis, they perform the same lines. They know the route, they know the stops, and they know perfectly what they are doing. Well, one day you put there dynamic routing, and you put there a tablet or some kind of a screen, and every single trip is different. And that was a huge challenge from our experience, and that is coming. I don't know how much and where, but that is coming.
Thank you so much for this. I'm sorry to cut it short. We're unfortunately out of time, but thank you for this very interesting conference and discussion. For everyone listening in, stay tuned on Autonomy Digital for the final presentations of today, but we will also continue tomorrow. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See you.
Thank you.